Well, I forgot to unmute myself. Sorry about that. Thanks for joining us on the live streaming event today. I've got a very special guest in the house. I'm going to let him introduce himself because it's his very first time with us. So I'm going to let him give a quick overview and an intro about who he is and what he does for the fire department here in Northport. Go ahead.
Hey, John, how you doing?
I'm good,
my name is Nick Herlihy, Deputy Fire Chief with Northport Fire Rescue. I've worked for the city since 2019. I'm in my 25th year as a firefighter. Started my career back in 2001, but I've been with the city going on 7 years now.
Fantastic. So from what I read, and I did a real quick overview, you're from the state of Florida originally, right?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Sarasota. Went to Sarasota High School.
Man, you're an oddball. I don't get that very often.
Yeah, oddly enough, my children are third generation Florida born. So more on my wife's side, but my wife's parents were born at, her father was born at Sarasota Memorial. I was born at Sarasota, and our children were all born there. So yeah, 3 generations born right here in Sarasota County.
Fantastic. That is awesome. Love it. I've got 25 years invested here, and every time I think about even the hint of going somewhere else, I miss home immediately. Do you feel that same way about the area?
Oh yeah. We try to travel a little bit and visit different parts of the country, but all in all, there's nothing better than the Gulf Coast. So this is definitely home. Feels like home, and I really enjoy the salt water and the natural Florida side. It's great.
Well, there's something to be said about our city right now too. We've got some really massive growth going on, some changes, good, bad, ugly. We can claim them all. I think every city can. I was doing a run up with Dave this morning to Sarasota, and I noticed that everybody is always complaining that we have too many apartment complexes. Well, I think that Venice's population is probably complaining about the same thing. They're getting a lot of condos and high rises in their area too, like we are. I think we notice them more because we didn't have any to begin with. Now we have them. We're learning about the denseness and everything else. With that being said, on the fire department side of things too, that growth adds a different challenge for you guys, doesn't it?
It does. So the core of what we do is serve the people. When there are more people to serve, life gets a little bit busier for the fire department, and the different densities and of where populations are, especially with target hazards as we call them, but apartment complexes where there's an immense amount of population density in a very small area. The structures are vertical instead of just being single story. So there is a lot of challenges that come with a rapidly growing city on top of high densities with whether it be, condos, apartments, townhomes, those sort of things.
I think we all have to kind of learn to adjust and kind of get along with the new and the old.
The new norm.
The new norm. It is the new norm. We've got, we used to have just the fire department or the emergency room on Toledo Blade, which I've talked to Chief about numerous times, a lot of staff numerous times. But can you talk about the changes that are happening on Sumter Boulevard, right there next to City Hall, that are going to enhance our city too? Because we've had some issues, and I understand you're kind of in the leadership of Station 81. Can you talk about that and kind of give us an overview of why that's going on?
Yeah, so probably best to talk about really where it began. So around 2020, so it's been several years now. This was a project that the city had undertaken in order to increase the square footage for our administration. For Station 81 is the hub of our entire organization. So with a growing city comes a growing fire department. And with a growing fire department, we had just run out of space, not unlike many other departments in the city. So a project that originally started off as a remodel and a small expansion of the current building rapidly grew, and the project changed to a tear the building down and start over. So where that came from was our original expansion area plus some of the remodeling that had to be done to kind of maximize the space within the existing shell. That all changed when Hurricane Ian hit. So our project, which was in front of commission for many years as a remodel, became a rebuild. So essentially what happened is, I think you've probably heard, John, of the FEMA's 50% rule. So if anything greater than 50% is upgraded or modified, you then have to bring it up to the current code. So when we were under a redesign or a remodel, just coincidentally, a lot of our space was under that threshold. So we were operating, under those parameters. When Ian hit, it caused damage to the building that, of course, had to be redone. You drive by Station 81, you can see that a lot of sections of roof are still missing. And here we are 3 years later. But that damage is essentially what teetered over. And we did a heavy evaluation of it. But I don't build buildings for a living. I work for the fire department, and I was surprised. But I guess it's not uncommon for those that are in the industry that to bring the building up to code meant we had to retrofit the entire structure. And when you think of what that does to a building that was built in 97, 98, to bring it up to codes now, the cost was immense. It was more expensive to harden the existing shell and structure and retrofit it to harden to critical infrastructure levels that we are held to than it was to tear it down and start over. So surprisingly enough, when we saw those numbers come back, it was a no-brainer that we were going to take the cheaper of the two options, and that's what we did. So we have been gearing up for this for quite some time. We are looking at moving out of the current Fire Station 81 in the next couple weeks, and our administrative staff will be moving into City Hall, and the crews that are located at Fire Station 81 are moving into a temporary fire facility, a temporary fire station right out in front of the Mullen Center. So we still have a good response area. The engine and the rescue are still centrally located in one of our busier zones, which is good. But our complete fire administration is going to move in with different departments in City Hall and take up space there while the build is happening. And then we'll move back in when it's all done.
So what closet did you get?
So we've had great neighbors of other departments in the city. They've welcomed us with open arms, but we will be scattered amongst the first, second, and third floor to keep our operation going, which obviously, we're emergency response, so our function is critical. But it's all of our administration folks. So our frontline response, they'll have their temporary station. But I landed on the first floor. So what we have set up, So what we've set up is when folks come, if they still have things that they need from fire rescue, you can walk in the first floor of City Hall, and immediately to your left, where planning currently exists, we're going to have a position at the front desk there, just like we would at Fire Station 81. So if you need anything, you can still come by and visit. And then we'll have several staff members in that area that can assist the public, if anything pops up. So we're trying to keep our continuity of operation the same. Chief Titus will end up on the second floor, and then we've got several other staff members that are sharing space with Parks on the third floor.
Well, I jokingly said that, but I actually meant it, because the scarcity of office space is definitely at an all-time high in any of our city buildings that the citizens would have privilege to go see. And I know that firsthand myself, because last year I sat in the EOC twice during the hurricanes, and the report room, I guess the media room, and the closet that is off that is now going to be office space for the fire department. And so I literally meant what I said when I said who got the closets, because I was in both of them. That was my area during those time frames. And I got to tell you, it's special. It's a special building, special people working inside the building. We have exceptional employees that we really should be pounding our chest about as citizens. But to make these adjustments and to make them work, there's some hard conversations that had to be had just in the prepping for all this, isn't there?
Very much so. So, yeah, the space that you spoke of, I believe, where the podcast room existed, it had to be reprioritized to make space for other people. So, the storage that was right off of that podcast room, when I say that's where Chief Titus is, that room had to be cleared out and then make some space for our administration. That was one of the rooms that we just had to find other space for what was in there for storage. But yes, it's funny you mentioned that, because that exact situation happened, and we're doing the best we can with it. And, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. It'll be about 14 months until the new build is. Right now, they're tentatively looking at December of 26.
Wow.
And that is, if there's no hiccups. And I think a lot of people know with construction, whether it be storms or rain. I mean, obviously we got through this season so far, knock on wood. Not too bad, but there's another hurricane season next year, so we'll see how that goes. So
absolutely,
if everything runs smooth, we're hoping that Santa brings us a completed building a little bit before Christmas, but we'll
that
see
would
what
be
happens when we get
special.
closer.
That would be special, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be good too, because our current building is not built to the critical infrastructure requirements. So if that building were built the exact same way today, it would fall short. So the good news on the other side is we will have a building that is up to code. It's one of our central stations, so it bounces east, bounces west, it covers the whole city. So to have that structure be fortified, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and it's listen, anybody who's been through any of the hurricane situations, when they hit that 51% threshold, they all know the answer to that question that you're doing.
Yeah.
And 51% is not hard to hit. And especially in today's world, you're going to hit that number pretty quick. And because it's also a first responders area, there's something to be said about bringing it up to code, and making sure that the guys inside of that building, guys and girls, sorry, because we have both firemen and firewomen, and having them inside that building or any of our structures, where they're safe and feel like they're at least a Hurricane 3 or better. That's a good thing. Do you know what level we're building this one at?
It'll be to a Category 4.
Category 4.
Yeah. Right. So essentially up to the best way to think about it is up to about 155 miles an hour. So once you break over that threshold and to build things to Cat 5 or greater, the fortification is very high. It can be very costly as well. So, but it'll be able to withstand up to about 150, 155 miles an hour winds.
So let's take it from the standpoint that I'm a citizen who lives in the area. Do I feel just as safe during this renovation as I was prior to?
Absolutely. So our continuity of operation, we will keep that resource in the same area. Now, they won't be able to stay in the temporary facility. The trucks will have to be moved. So whether at that time they go to an adjacent fire station, or if we move them into the Mullen Center, which will be right across the way, we make those operational calls based on the intensity of the storm. So if a storm is approaching that, let's say is smaller, whether it's a tropical storm or even a Category 1, that might change where we put resources opposed to a Cat 5 or greater. So the citizens in the area should know that we look at all factors, and what we look for most is to make sure that post-storm, well, assuming once the storm rolls through, that our responders are able to make it right out into the streets and start serving the public immediately once it becomes safe to operate on the streets again.
Well, I'm gonna ask the question because the fact that building was compromised, if we had a storm of any size, you would be doing the same thing, wouldn't you?
Correct. So right now, ever since that point when Ian hit, if once we are in the cone, then we start tracking what we need to do with the crew that is there. So once we get within about 24 hours of a storm making landfall, we would move the crew into the Mullen Center as the situation is right now. And that would stay the same even through construction. If the storm was far more intense, then we would certainly look at other options of putting the crew at another fire station just until the storm passed, and then moving them back, assuming that the temporary station still exists. So but yes, we do look at all those.
Yeah, and it's the ironic thing. It's safety first, and I'm talking to a safety guy. It's safety first. Citizens are in that same safety first category, but also the crew and the building and everything that fits in. So these adjustments that we're going to have to see made, they would have been made during a hurricane event anyway. So the citizens should not feel stressed out because the trucks are relocated, because that would have happened. So we've had a couple trial runs to prepare ourselves for the road closures, the different things like that. And I've talked about this kind of in depth with staff, and reassure the citizens that the fire department is set up and ready to respond with the Price Boulevard closure and everything else happening there. You guys are all over this, aren't you?
Absolutely. So well before the original plan was for Price to remain open throughout the duration of construction. Once we were notified that there was the potential that near Race, but basically where the closure is right now, we worked with Public Works to ensure that we still had the ability for public safety to cross the waterway to keep our response times where they need to be throughout the construction. And obviously that leads into, even with potential disasters, our evaluation of our resources and what we can deliver to the public is always based on what's best for the public, what's best for the citizens. So that's always the front of mind decision of ours, is how do we maintain the service levels that we provide on a blue sky day with no obstructions or no occurrences, and how do we maintain that throughout to the best that we can, whether it be hurricanes, tornadoes, brush fires, road construction, a public works shutdown at Price Boulevard. But yes, we are very much on top of that. The other thing that we did add specifically for the Price closure was we added another ALS transport rescue on the east side of town. So even though we have an emergency crossing that can be used, traffic on surface roads is troublesome. So we added another resource on the east side of town to ensure that somebody's calling 911. We're kind of upstaffing that side of the city because we are a little bit choked down in our ability to cross town. But so far we've seen no detrimental responses. Everything's been running fairly smoothly. So we're looking for that through the next phase until Price can be reopened, and then kind of constantly reevaluate that on the other side.
So the citizens who are listening live on the live stream, feel free to ask questions. I'll post them. If you have any comments, kudos, some rah-rah, some cheers for the fire department. They do an outstanding job. Feel free to post. I will highlight them. I'll put them on screen, and we'll get your questions answered. Along with, we'll post some kudos if you have them. It is a holiday, and I appreciate the fact that you're taking your time out of your holiday to come on and talk about the fire department and its situation that it's in. But the situation is being handled, and the citizens need to understand what's happening. The changes that are coming with the station, can you talk about the improvements that are coming with that?
Probably the biggest is the fact that it will be a rated structure up to current codes, and we've spoken about that. The other is we have a little bit more apparatus-based space, so that's an improvement. So for us, being able to keep resources sheltered during storm events, or just keeping them inside to be able to, stretch out the longevity of our apparatus. Our apparatus are not cheap. So we try to get and squeeze every last month, year, day out of them that we possibly can. So with the station, we did recognize that we need more space to park apparatus. So we added a fourth apparatus bay, which is good. We added space for administration and growth. So as we've grown, we've added positions, for quality assurance, community outreach. Our training division is growing as we have more firefighters. The need for more training officers always is there. So, and also fire inspectors. That's, as there are more buildings to inspect, we're going to need more space for building inspectors or fire inspectors. So we've added the required space for all of these positions, and then left a little bit of room for growth on the other side as well. On our fire station, our operations side, where the crew, we've increased the amount of bunk rooms for the crews that are there. One of the things that we notice, and we talked about storms, is when we call crews back during a hurricane, we upstaff. We either double or triple staff for the storm. And one of the things that we recognize is that it makes it more difficult if crew members cannot make it to work because, let's say, roads are closed or situations are unsafe to drive. So what the public may not know is, ahead of a storm, we make an operational decision to recall all shifts, and they report back to their assigned fire stations. So during that period of time, they can still rotate out as they normally would. They just don't get to go home. So we may have a double or a triple staffed firehouse for a week. During Hurricane Ian, we had all members of our department were recalled prior to the storm. So they left their families at home. They button up their houses. They kiss their spouse goodbye and their kids goodbye, and they come to work. And they don't get to go home until we know the public is safe.
Yep.
That's the norm for us. It is challenging, but we recognize that when you have that many crew members in one firehouse, it's cramped. So we've actually adopted a model years ago where, we have bunk beds in rooms now that on a normal blue sky day, maybe only one bunk is being occupied, but we start recalling crews. Now there's more space for them to sleep without adding any square footage. But we also see that in the future, we see changes. We have growth in Station 81 zone, let alone the rest of the city. So when we see that, we always know that there might be the need for another apparatus in order to respond to heavier call volumes in that zone. So we added bunk rooms to absorb the potential of that over the next 15, 20, 30 years in order to really meet the response guidelines that, we set for ourselves and commission expects of us to serve the people. So we've added enough square footage on the operational side, or the fire crew side, the station side, in order to add more potential for growth in the future for the fire department.
And when we talk about the ratings for the fire department, these runs that we're doing now and adapting, we're trying to keep those call times down for a particular reason. Can you talk about the importance of that, not just for the department, but for the citizens of Northport?
Absolutely. So we're measured on a lot of different fronts. We're a professional fire department, and we aim to meet these benchmarks every day. One of the biggest for us is ISO. Northport Fire Rescue is in the top 1% of fire rescue departments nationwide. We are an ISO 1. There are very few departments that are ISO 1 in the nation. Our ISO 1 is based upon our ability to get out the door in a required amount of time, and then to get to your doorstep in a required amount of time. So for us, and that's specifically for fire responses, for us, we look at every call as an opportunity to prove why we are an ISO 1. So we have countdown timers in the apparatus bays. Our crews, if you were sitting in a firehouse doing a station tour and the tones go off, I'm not exaggerating when I say they run to the door. They are in the apparatus and they're hustling to get to the doorstep of whoever called 911 on every single call. So for how we are measured, we try to get out the door 60 seconds or less, day or night, any call type. That's an emergency call type. And then when we look at our travel times, we have less ability to affect change. And to get out the door is one piece, right? We have good crews. They're trained well. They're very energetic. They carry the mission. To get from 2:00 in the morning, sleeping in bed, to the trucks and out the front door in 60 seconds, that's all on us. Right now, price is shut down. There's a lot of traffic on the roads. So if we're traveling and we're weaving in and out of traffic safely, we have less of the ability to affect the difference in our travel times. That really goes into where our stations are located and where those apparatus are, to be able to reach the best we can, a 4 to 5 minute response time to the doorstep. So there's those levels that we judge ourselves on, but then also third parties come in and check, are we doing it? And that becomes the point that we get to show that, we're meeting our performance measures, our benchmarks. We've got a great ROSC rate, which is, it's an EMS measurement. It's a return of spontaneous circulation. It's essentially a cardiac arrest that has been saved. So we try to get out and affect the rescues as fast as we can to bring the best service delivery to our citizens. And then on top of that, we have accreditation. So we are CAS accredited, which is our ambulance accreditation. And right now we're aiming for fire accreditation in March of 2027, which would really put us in a whole nother level of ISO 1, fire accredited, and ambulance accredited across the board. And I think what that really shows is how dedicated our people are to not only meeting the mission internally, to satisfy commission or the city manager, the fire chief, but also on national standards. Where do we rate against other departments? And are we really on the cutting edge and ensuring that we're bringing the best that we can to the public?
So we through Chief Titus and his staff, you deputy chiefs and crew that are out there, he has set the tone, but you guys carry the shield across. You guys are really working hard to uphold every standard that he sees and anything that anyone brings forward to make us stronger. Every show I talked with Chief Titus and I talked to him a little bit this morning, and he's traveling, but there's something to be said about the quality of leadership and how that makes the whole entire department feel. Can you talk about the quality of work environment that you guys have? Because I know a lot of the firemen, I know a lot of the students who graduated Northport High School who now are firemen and police officers. The work environment is essential to keep the retention at a high level. I think we have that too, don't we?
100%. So we have a great culture in our fire department, and we're very proud of it. And we're also very unapologetic about it as well. So when we look to recruit and when we look for new candidates walking in the door, we have taken the position that we're looking for the right person. We feel very strongly, they have to meet a base standard, no doubt, but we feel we can really train anybody, but they have to have the right attitude and they have to buy into what our culture is we are here to serve the public. So if you're about that and you see that this is a service, it's the fire service, right? What can you do to do the best for the people that you serve? So we look for these traits from the moment they apply, from the moment they step in the door. And then they go through a fairly grueling hiring process that we're trying to kind of filter that out. We're looking for that character. And then if we feel we've got the right person, then we offer them a position and we let them know that, hey, this is step 0, right? We're going to send you through orientation, and our expectations are that you carry that torch throughout your entire career. And you're right with what you said with, whether it's our administrative staff or our operations staff, everyone buys into that mission. And no matter what you're doing, if you're in fire prevention, if you're doing community risk reduction, if you're running the calls, if you're building the budget, if you're working accreditation, every corner of our department is really hyped up to be able to to bring the best that we can to the table, because it's all for the citizens we serve. So we bring them in the door, and we lay it on them really quick and early that, this is what we're about. And we've been very successful with it. We've got a great department. I'm very proud of our department. I know Chief Titus is as well. But we see it every day. And when I talk back, it's the small things. It's, I kind of chuckle. I'll see the phone ring. I'll be up talking to the crew, just kind of chit chatting and catching up with them. And the phone will ring, and the new guy knows it's his job to answer the phone, and he runs to the phone. He won't let anyone else beat him to the phone. And it may seem like a menial task, but really at the end, it's a show of like that due diligence, that attitude of like, hey, I'm going to hustle. I'm going to make sure I'm doing everything I can. And, you just kind of grin, and you know that, the culture of our department is alive and well. So, but it's a reflection upon what we stand for as a department. And it starts at the top with the chief, and he's been with the city well over 30 years, and he has seen a lot of change. And right now we're being guided in a great direction, and we're very excited about it. Our fire department is growing. We're building a fire station right now over in Welland Park. It should be done around July. It would be Fire Station 87. There's development on the other side of town where that will likely pop up, another fire station here in the future. And that's just the development growth. There's other areas of the city that are becoming more dense that may require another fire station to pop up. We keep very close watch on our response times to make sure, because that's really our trigger point for, what causes another fire station to be needed, and or even additional apparatus to be added to existing fire stations. So we're in a constant evaluation phase of what that is. But all of those parts and pieces working together in harmony is really what makes our department great.
So the award-winning station that we are, that component that we are in the 1 percentile of, why would the citizens care about that?
So the trickle down of us being an ISO 1 is your insurance provider for your business or your home. Part of what they look at is the rating of your fire department. So there's a lot of variables that go into it. There's no hard number, but essentially the better we do as an ISO rated department, the lower your insurance is for either homeowners or business owners insurance. So for us, it's another benchmark of why wouldn't we strive to be the best that we can in that arena, especially because then the trickle down is on top of a good performance in the street. It's putting the best performance we can out there, so your insurance can be as low as possible as far as what the fire department can do to affect that. So yes, that's how it's measured right now, is you'll see an impact in your homeowner's insurance.
See, as a full-time realtor, I volunteer doing the live streams and all the things I volunteer in. But as a full-time realtor, that when I hear these things, I get excited because that affects my full-time job. And other people that are coming to our city. We're kind of blessed that strategic planning is at a high level for our state, for our fire department. And it helps us in that regard. I know there's our community down south of us has some areas that lack some fire department response time, and that's over 5 minutes for a fire truck, or 5 miles outside the 5-mile circle, and that makes it difficult for a lot of the insurers that are just on the outside of that. So how we strategically look at the need, the time responses, all of those things. You're just not doing this so you can pat yourself on the back. There is a complete overview for the citizens of Northport. And it starts with safety first, and then savings along the way. You guys look at every aspect of trying to, and I know this because I've had these conversations for years now. You guys look at every aspect of trying to cut budget and stay within and work through every aspect of it, but not lose what is most important, which is safety of our community and then the ISO standard, because that was too hard to get. First off, you don't ever want to just give it up, because you can. I'm sure that all these things are part of a, if not an annual assessment, probably more so a monthly assessment, isn't it?
Yeah, so we look at our performance measures. I would say like daily, we check. We meet with the city manager quarterly to review our performance measures. Annually, it's re-reviewed during the budget process as well. ISO does a visit every 5 years, so we're constantly working towards daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals, annual goals. But if you look at it from, if we're moving in the right direction, we're doing the right things, it's the fine-tuned details that really affect change downstream. So whether it be how fast we're getting out the door, how quick we're getting the calls, are we finding the least expensive widget? Are we evaluating our turnover of our apparatus? Or do we have the right amount of reserve apparatus? Do we have the correct amount of fire stations? All of that, absolutely. When we think strategically from the fire department, we just updated our strategic plan this past February. We revisit that every 5 years, which is also a part of our accreditation standard as well. But we look for what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are our threats, and what are some opportunities for us to get better. We engage community stakeholders, the city manager's office, a lot of folks from new guy to the fire chief and the fire department, other fire agencies. We look at everything to really evaluate, are we doing the best we can for our citizens? Are we being good stewards of the tax dollar that is sent our way to make sure that we're providing the right level of service and our trucks are still rolling down the road without mechanical malfunctions as best we can? And all of that comes into, just pointing ourselves in the right direction to ensure that when the tones go off, that whoever is needing us on that other end of the phone calling 911 is getting some really high-speed firefighters at their doorstep, ready to solve big, small problems, medium problems, and do it with a smile.
And we're blessed to have the partner at STC, and have that part of the feeding program into the fire department, as far as the paramedics and different things like that. I know that we're ISO. I know that we have all these things, and the citizens need to understand that we're prepared at a different level here. We actually are, I think, training our people to be super firemen, firewomen, because the push for training and education. I think it's at a high level, isn't it, with our organization?
Very much. It really goes into our succession plan. Throughout my career, doors have been open for me, and people have looked for or given me advice. Hey, really be looking at this degree or look at that certification. That's big within our organization. So whether we have fire officers or firefighters that are looking for different credentials through the fire college on a national level, through formal education, through a degree, we really do promote that. Your self-improvement, gaining new knowledge, it really never ends. So yes, we look to our partners at STC. We send a lot of our personnel to STC for their paramedic program, because of course then they come back to the city and then they become charged paramedics for us. But most of our paramedics that we've hired, we've sent them to school, and then basically they're working while they're in school, don't get me wrong, but then when they come back, they maybe entered the door as a firefighter EMT, but a few years in, now they're a firefighter paramedic, and now they're able to execute advanced care to our patients.
Talk about why that's important. That you, an EMT, and advanced paramedic. Explain that kind of.
So the easiest way to explain it is it's an advanced level of what your capabilities are. So we have a medical director. He's a physician, Dr. Mark Johnson. We have an EMS division, which is headed up by Division Chief Nick Satterley. We have EMS training officers. We have EMS quality assurance and quality improvement. And then we have outreach that also falls in the EMS division. So we will send our community outreach training officer out to work with HOAs to do, whether it be like drowning prevention or hands-only CPR or any stop the bleed courses, you name it. It really starts with the full spectrum of what can we do as a city, as an EMS provider, an advanced care EMS provider, for the public we serve. But the delineation between an EMT and a paramedic, it really offers an advanced level of administration of drugs and medications, to advanced airway techniques, to different capabilities for trauma and life support. So what it does is it just enhances. Now, we are an ALS provider. We have to have paramedics in order for them to operate and affect those skills. So a little over half of our department is licensed as a paramedic, either in the state of Florida or nationally. And then the other half is usually pipelining their way into it at some point in time in their career. But in the past, we saw in fire departments that a lot of fire departments were looking for a paramedic. And we use the term a free agent, right? Somebody that's not with an agency, somebody who's looking for a job in the fire department and already has their paramedic patch. Florida as a whole is booming in population, which means cities and counties across the state are growing. That means fire departments are growing. That means when I look at job postings for the state of Florida that put out through the Florida State Fire College, there's just jobs everywhere, right? So why pick Northport? So we try to heavily recruit, but one of the things that we've noticed is everybody that's out there to be hired are firefighter EMTs. So that's where we've recognized that we have to find the right person to fit our culture with Northport Fire. And then we'll train them to be paramedics. We'll train them to be, technical rescue. We'll train them to do boat operations. We can do all those things, but we want to find the right person first.
It's got to be a unique situation for a fire department.
Yeah, very much. I don't know where we're at now, but I knew a couple of years ago there was an article that said Northport was the second fastest growing city in the nation. And for us, we see that we know that that's something on the horizon for us as a fire department. That means we've got to find people, a lot of them, and we've got to find them in pretty short order. So we were able to get ahead of that curve with Fire Station 87. We actually went to commission a few years ago and we started hiring for those positions. And one of the things we did is we adopted an approach where we hire, if we need 18 for a firehouse to cover 3 different shifts, that we hired them a little bit at a time. So it wouldn't be this gigantic financial impact to the city or to the fire district. So we've hired all those people already. And we see that plan and how successful it was, that now we're opening up a fire station here in July. We've already got the people on board to then just pipeline into that fire station. So if we went out right now and we were forced to hire 18 or 21 or 26 firefighters, that would be a challenge. So what we look at is we hire a little bit as we go. And the other thing it does is it affords us the ability to not be inundated with 18 brand new people, very green firefighters all at one time.
Yep.
So it gives them to kind of trickle in. And I really think it's what keeps our culture, where we have it, is where our hiring groups are, 4 to 6 to 8. And we've come across situations where, maybe we've had 8 openings, maybe only 6 really met the standard that we feel is important for fire rescue. And then we'll wait for the next graduation class of a local fire academy and then basically, put out a job solicitation, right? We're in it right now. We just opened for positions that will be onboarding new firefighters sometime in January. So the applications are open, and we start that process all over again. But we essentially do a hiring group about every 6 months.
You know, that there is something to be said about that camaraderie that you're building. That culture is one thing. The camaraderie of 18 brand new hires going into a facility, that culture, I think that would be an abrupt change. I think we've done that in the past. And I know that practice is still happening somewhere in the United States, but this practice that we have of bringing them in a little bit of time, does that help that transition? Do you see that? Yeah, I would think that would be so valuable. It's not funny.
Yeah, it really is. And I can say we've seen both sides of it. So in 2018, December of 2018, don't quote me exactly, somewhere near the end of 2018.
I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah, we were approved for a SAFER grant, and that was great. And we got a grant. It's a grant to add staffing. We hired 21 new firefighters all at one time. Now, if you hire 21 firefighters and you're in Orange County, you're in Miami, you're in Jacksonville, you're in Tampa, 21 firefighters to the size of your department is no big deal. They probably roll through that every quarter, if not more. For Northport at the time, we were a 5 going on 6 station department. That's hugely impactful. So when we're talking, 135 line firefighters, and that's a mix of firefighters, fire officers, chief fire officers, that's big. That's a lot of people to balance through that whole situation. So that is something that we recognize was a big lift for us. And knowing that we're adding another fire station, which pulls another 18, on top of the logistics of finding the right people and bringing them in and putting them through a orientation, which takes about 2 months, and then releasing them, to the streets, so to speak, to be trained on the job the rest of the way through, field training officers. It's a big lift. So we've got a great system right now. It works well. And, we hope to continue with our success of keeping a good culture. When a fire department has a really good culture, everything else just seems to fall in line. Big problems that pop up become little problems. You got good people to handle these things, and it's no big deal. And from our new firefighters to our lieutenants, to our engineers, to our paramedics, to our district chiefs, when everyone's in lockstep and pushing in the same direction and kind of feels that let's go get it type attitude, it really helps out a lot.
Yeah, that's it. To me, it makes, when you explain it the way you did, it makes total sense to bring them in a little bit of time. And I like the fact that you talked about Orange County and different areas like that, because they're not us. We're different. We are growing, and everybody thinks we're eventually going to get there. We're never going to be Miami. And we're never going to be some of these downtown regions that have some, even like the downtown strip of Venice. We're struggling to get those even at Welland Park, but we're addressing that style of firefighting along with the forest fire side of it. We've got a wide range. We're blessed to have trees everywhere, along with the fact that I hate to be a negative on the trees, but forest fires come with that, and we've had our share of putting those out and controlling them, and that comes from training, and that's you guys. Not too long ago on Toledo Blade, we had a forest fire that went across the road on Toledo Blade. We didn't lose a building, and it was all because of the superb fire department and the firefighting skills that you guys have that help prevent some of these things from being a bigger problem than just a forest fire itself. Can you? We've got just a few minutes. I think I think I shocked you with the 55 minutes, but we're right there at the end of it. Believe it or not.
I'm not known to talk slow. So for me to continue on the conversation is I have the gift of gab as well. So
Good. Well, you listen. You've met all the challenges for sure.
yeah.
But can you talk about that training for firefighters? Because we're talking about something different. We're talking about forest fire.
Yeah.
And you guys, there are some cities that don't train for forest fires because they don't have a forest.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So I'll start with Fire Academy, right? So in the Fire Academy, every firefighter is trained to basic levels of wildland fires. From that, a lot of firefighters go on to work for city departments that, their brush fires are, a mulch bed and a median, right? Nothing like what Northport faces. So for anyone who's been around Northport for a while knows is when general development built the city, all the infrastructure was placed, all the roads were placed, and then randomly houses are popping up in all of these areas. On the fire side, what that presents is a lot of what's called a occluded interface. So there's a lot of fire fuel commingled with medium, light, or densely populated areas that are randomly scattered throughout the city. So for a very long time, Northport just had a reputation for, catching wildfires. Our firefighters, because of that, have become very accustomed to attacking you fast, being very aggressive, albeit safe. But there's a reputation of a very aggressive approach in wildland firefighting because we know the effects of not approaching these fires aggressively. So the example that you had brought up was over there behind the strip mall at Toledo and Price, if I'm referencing the same one you
Yes, you are.
And we put an immense amount of resources onto that fire in a short order. And we're very successful. Like you said, we did not lose any structures, but it's not going to go away. That is not something that you do away with in Northport, because no matter what road you turn down, you're going to see, palmetto scrubs to pine trees to, trees blown down from hurricanes. Our job is to make sure that, yes, we are training our personnel in the correct manner in order to mitigate these very dangerous fires. So the good side of having some are that your people stay very sharp in their skills addressing them. So we're no strangers to it because we see it all the time, especially during brush fire season, which is opposite of hurricane season. So we exit hurricane season, enter brush fire season. So, but as soon as we get into those drier months in February, March, April, May, until the summer, rains really start soaking everything, we run a lot of wildfires. And sometimes they're in areas that there are no structures threatened. Sometimes they are in between 2 quarter-acre lots, and you got houses on either side and one in the back. And we jump on them quickly. So we train our own people once they come out of the academy. That's part of orientation, is they get a little bit more advanced training. And then throughout the year, right when we start leading up to what we call brush fire season, we will dedicate time solely to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And then honestly, getting out there and having those fires, albeit, we don't want there to be brush fires, but we definitely want to be prepared because we are going to get brush fires. It happens every single year, multiple times a year.
Right. And I'm glad you are saying it like you are, because we kind of have an extreme. We go from extreme hurricane season to extreme forest fire season, and we do have forests within the city of Northport, and we have to respond to those just like the rest of the county, I think, does when there's something massive. Can you talk about that camaraderie real quick on pulling in from other areas, Charlotte County, maybe Sarasota, Inglewood? We have those situations where I'm going to call it the brotherhood of firefighters. They all get together, and you guys really support each other on a whole different level too, don't you?
Absolutely. So we've got good working relationships with Charlotte County, with Sarasota County, with Venice, with Englewood, with Nokomis. But it's it's not uncommon for us to request mutual aid support for some of our brush fires if they get large enough. And go back to the fire at Toledo Blade and Price a few years ago, that was a good example of that. We had air assets from the sheriff's office dropping water on the fire. We had Division of Forestry there, or Florida Forest Services, or no, now I dated myself a little bit there. But Sarasota County's there, Englewood's there, Nokomis is there. It's part of the structure of the fire department to have these mutual aid support systems, that if events get very large, we all start dumping resources towards each other to mitigate the hazard as fast as possible. And then at the end, yes, everyone, heads back to their firehouses or heads back to their normal response zones. But we have a certain uniformity of our response that, we can bring in resources from outside the city, either from a county or another neighboring district, another fire district, and they just fold right into our operation. So, and that's been something that's been pushed for decades now. So the NIMS, or the National Incident Management System, which was really pushed hard from a presidential directive after September 11th, was a hard push for the last few decades to make sure that all fire departments have very common terminology, very common structures with incident command systems once you arrive on scene. So you could ask any firefighter, the general structure of an event, and they know that you have an incident commander, you have an operations section chief, you've got branches, divisions, groups, and who reports to who. So when you get assigned these tasks, it's expansive. So you can take the incident command system and use it on a very small event, or you can also use it on a very big event. But we're using it every day, that you're used to the terminology and the structure. So it works very well. Yeah.
Talk about a massive improvement on such a downer of a day, to be able to come out and have some structure from that day. We all remember 9/11, but to know that there's some really great things that came out of that. We're all blessed. We're all blessed for that. We're not so blessed that 9/11 actually happened, but there is some good that comes out of some bad. So we have to take the good, the bad, and the ugly, like we were talking about earlier. But I appreciate your time. I really enjoyed the conversation. We've covered a lot of bases in this, and I hope the citizens liked it. But thanks for taking time out of your holiday to come on and share with us. And I hope to have you on again soon sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to come back, John. It was a great conversation, and we can cover some more topics for sure. So I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much. And citizens of Northport and surrounding areas, thanks for listening in. Please like and share it. If you have any ideas for upcoming shows, please feel free to text or call me at 941-391-4663. And I really appreciate you, and look forward to more shortly. Have a great day. Bye, guys.
See you guys.